It's time for a brand new spotlight on here on AfterBuzz TV. I have got an amazing entertainer. You have seen him in Gotham. You have seen him in Heroes. You have seen him in 12 Monkeys. You've seen him everywhere. We've got Todd Stashwick. Stick around.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hello and welcome. It's time for a spotlight on. This is the perfect song. I'm Yael Tygiel. I am so excited right now. I am joined by an actor, a writer, a voice actor, a hilarious man, Todd Stashwick.
Hey!
Yay!
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Oh my goodness. Such a big fan.
Oh, wow. That's very kind of you to say.
Yeah. So I know people know you from the originals, Heroes, The Riches, Gotham, 12 Monkeys, also DC Movie News on
DC
our
Movie News, yes.
Yes, on our sister network Popcorn Talk. You were recently there to give them some big news.
Scooped them.
You did.
Gave them a scoop.
It's not an exclusive here, but
No.
you're co-writing the Suicide
Squad 2. I am indeed.
I love the story you told there, so people please go check that out.
Yeah, go check that out.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to repeat ourselves.
Nope.
There's no reason to.
Yeah, making sure people watch that show. Let's talk about your beginnings.
Okay.
Because you started in improv.
I did. I started in comedy. I started doing plays in like junior high school. That's what we call it in the Midwest. Out here, it's middle school.
Junior high
but
is
junior
middle
high, but junior high in the Midwest was always called junior high. But out
thought
here,
those were
my
interchangeable.
daughter goes to middle school. They don't call it junior high out here.
Interesting.
Or no, she's not in it yet. I'm aging her up. I'm sorry. Forgive me, darling. She's not. She will be when she attends. It will be middle school. My son has finished middle school. He's heading towards his junior year of college.
Senior high school.
No,
he's in college.
He's in college. So we were saying something. Yes, we were saying.
Theater.
I started doing I literally started doing plays in my garage. I would reenact the Muppet movie and play the Muppet movie soundtrack, and I would have all the puppets, and I like built legs for Kermit and a banjo so he could sing Rainbow Connection.
Wow.
And yeah, so I've always been a fool, and then I just found a way to get him to pay me for it. But yeah, so I did plays in high school and junior high school, and I did high school theater. Then I went to college for theater. But then my first professional job, when they decided that for whatever reason what I was doing was monetizable, was the Second City, Chicago. So yeah, I started acting in comedy.
In comedy.
Back in '92. Yeah, all those years ago.
It's a good year.
Yeah,
92.
well, those were for me.
And so you did Second City, and you wrote and acted. And I read somewhere that you had said that got you really prepared to being an entertainer, not just an actor.
I mean, both living in Chicago and being in Second City, really, there's such a grassroots to Chicago where you're the one making the poster. You're the one, not like, because I also had a theater company with Megan Schumacher, who's now my manager, and her husband, who was my best friend from high school. The three of us had a theater company, so we were booking the space, and we were writing the shows and that. And then at the same time, over at Second City, I was also we have to generate our own material. So not only are we improvising and doing the shows and acting in the scenes that we were rehearsing, we were also writing the scenes. So Chicago, my experience in Chicago really kind of honed a lot of different skills that made me prepared to move forward as an entertainer. Yeah,
That's amazing. You just have all these
That's my
skills.
life.
I not only build puppets, but I also wrote the
I
script.
build the puppets. Yes,
And then you went to New York.
I did.
And I know that you got to be on one of my favorite shows, the Law and Order Special Victims Unit.
DSVU.
Yeah.
Yes.
In season 1.
I did season 1.
Season 1, episode 3.
I did. I had one scene.
Yeah.
And I got kneed in the crotch by Mariska. She took me down.
What an honor.
It was an honor. It was an honor. And I think it was like the week she was doing Leno for the first time. And so she and I were talking about that. I hope things work out for her.
Yeah, me too.
Fingers crossed that Leno appearance really really took her home.
It'd be really nice if SVU succeeds.
Really, I have high hopes for it. I mean, it's on the bubble, but we'll see.
I also heard that you were up for SNL.
When I was in Second City, in 95.
Also a great year.
Yeah, what a good year. 95, I had a few people from my touring company and my resident company show in Chicago were brought out to New York to audition for Lorne and the good people at Saturday Night Live, based on characters I was currently doing in my Second City review at Second City Northwest. Can I say the word Second City more, please?
Please.
I just really can't help myself.
Do you remember what your audition was like?
Yeah. How do you not? It was indelible. It was indelible. It was huge. At the time, you had to do like impressions, and you had to do like original characters. And because it was 1995, so most of your viewers were just being born. So, but the current, I basically did the MTV Movie Awards or Music Awards, so I could string together a bunch of impressions. And I think at the time I was doing like Keanu Reeves and Christian Slater. And
they were actors then.
They were actors then, but they were like MTV hot actors, not like staples in cable and The Matrix. Like he's a sci-fi icon.
Yeah.
But this is when they were just kind of Bill and Tedding it, and Christian Slater had like Pump Up the Volume. Like he was the Heathers. Like this is when he was, and I think I did Paul Reiser, and I did Tommy Lee Jones, and I did Eddie Vedder, and I did Michael Stipe. So those were my impressions that I did, and then I did 3 of my own original characters. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's fun.
Did you have to do any singing, any music?
Well, I did my impression of Eddie Vedder and my impression of Michael Stipe. So I was doing a little musical comedy for them. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It was cool.
Do you think you'll always remember that moment?
Yeah, because I was a kid growing up in Chicago, like wanting to be a Ghostbuster, like wanting to be Bill Murray. That's all I like. That's all I wanted out of life, and that's what drove me out of theater school to head back, because I grew up in Chicago. So that's what drove me to go to Second City, was just Belushi and Aykroyd and Murray and all those cats. And so one of the greatest thrills of my life first was just standing on the stage as a hired performer at Second City, knowing that these were the boards that Bill walked and that John walked, and that was exciting. And then to be invited to New York to stand where the host gives his monologue and to do my 5 minutes of material in that hallowed hall, it was a high point, I mean, and my life went a different direction acting wise, but it was still, when you say, do I think I'll always remember? Yeah, because it was indelible.
Yeah.
Indelible.
Your life did take a very different, I'd say, turn.
Why, yes, it did.
You tend to play terrible people, not just bad.
Misunderstood.
Not just
They're
bad.
misunderstood.
You're not just villains. They're people.
They're hardworking folk who believe in a cause, and
they're mostly jerk faces.
That's just because that's what I was born with.
Those my polite, non-sweary.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
jerk faces.
Yeah, I just like when you're a big guy with dark circles around your eyes and a voice that always sounds like it's on the verge of a cold. It leans towards villainy. Yeah, and I also think, I think a couple things. I think having come from theater and having done so much like Shakespeare and these things, like there's something that lends itself. There is a bit of theatricality to villainy. You don't have to just have to. The job requirement is a little different, and often when you're the perp of the week, they want to make those. They're a little larger than life. I always say the leads have to be these credible they have heavy shoulders. They have to carry the show on their back. But so the villain gets to kind of spin in the moonlight a little bit. And so, like, my theater background and my Second City and my improv background always lent itself to being a little like making choices that are a little left of center and a little tweaked, so that when I would go into auditions, there was always a bit of mania or madness to the choices I was making, and it all paid off. I mean, I moved out to New York after not doing SNL. I was like, I'm moving to LA to do half-hour sitcoms. I had gone to college with Sean Hayes, and so I was just loving what he was doing on Will and Grace, and he actually introduced me to the casting director of that, and so I got to do an episode of that show, and I'm like, that's what I want to do. And then I got booked on a pilot, half-hour sitcom pilot, while I was still living in New York, and that flew me out here. I'm like, okay, now it's time to load up the truck and move to Beverly Hills, that is. And by that I mean North Hollywood. But
same thing. That's the same for people who don't know the map.
North Hollywood is the Beverly Hills of LA.
It is.
Thanks.
Well, I live there. I get it.
Yeah. But I came out here to I was like, I'm gonna book a plane ticket for a week, and my wife and son were in New York, and I'm gonna book a plane ticket, and I'm gonna come out here for a week. The pilot that I got didn't go, but it was enough to say, hey, you're swimming in a bigger pond, come on out to Los Angeles. So then I moved out here, or I came out here, bought a plane ticket for a week. I'm like, I'm gonna get an apartment, then I'll fly back and bring my family. We'll pack up the U-Haul and then we'll come. But I booked Angel that week, and then my agent was just like, "This is a good thing. Like, you're already getting work." And so I called up my wife. I'm like, "I'll go to IKEA and furnish the apartment if you load up the boy and bring the stuff, because I'm working now. I have to cancel that back into that ticket." And then that turned into another job. But interestingly enough, like, one of the first big jobs that I got as a very prominent guest star was on Angel. It was a genre show, and so that sort of started turning the boat a bit away from comedy singularly. But I'm very fortunate that I've been able to live my career kind of one half foot in 1/2 foot.
Yes, a half foot.
That would be 6 inches. I've been able to live 6 inches in comedy, and the other 6 in drama. So, like, there was a point where the dramatic casting directors didn't know I did comedy, and vice versa, because I would go and do Dharma and Greg over here, and then I'd go and do Criminal Intent over there, and then I would go and I would do Still Standing, and then I would go and Malcolm in the Middle, and then I would go kill somebody on CSI. Like, the careers kind of ran parallel to each other.
I think, at least as a sci-fi fantasy fan, we're very familiar with your work in sci-fi fantasy shows. You were on Gotham, which I know you're a big Batman specifically, but
I
also
like
a
your
DC.
shirt.
But I wore it specifically for
Bless
you.
you.
It's very hard not to choose a Marvel shirt.
Oh yeah, are you a Marvel?
I am a Marvel fan. I'm sorry.
No, look, they have earned every bit of your fandom. Like, the books are great, and the films are fantastic. I was just fed as a child like Adam West's Batman. So kind of my introduction to a lot of superhero-dom was that, and then all the Frank Miller comics and Alan Moore and all the late 80s, early 90s British wave of comic book writers, all in the DC and Vertigo realm. That's when I really got invested. So they have my heart.
Yeah. Well, so what was it like as such a big fan to be on Gotham, to be in Arkham?
Fantastic. Like, you have a few moments, and you need to take them as, like, in our lives, period, whether you're an actor or not, you need to gratitude, or just pause, because we do so get caught up in so much insanity, right, in our lives and in headlines, that I continue to take stock at how absurd the career that I have is, and how fortunate that I have to be able to play in sandboxes that bring me great joy as a fan. So I did have a couple moments on Gotham. The first episode that I did, I was standing, we were shooting in the Bronx, I think, and there were human beings in cages in suits, as you do. And I was walking around, and my brain was able to appreciate that. And I had another moment like this on another show. My brain was able to appreciate that I'm standing in Gotham City. Like like it is sanctioned and blessed by the people. I'm not cosplaying. It's not a Batman themed party. It's like, no, this is going on public record as Gotham City, and I'm a denizen of it, and that made me super happy. And then later, the next episode I got to be in Arkham Asylum. Like, I took pictures on the wall that said Arkham Asylum. I'm like, this is a big one. And one other time for me was when I was doing Star Trek Enterprise, and I had the pointy ears and the pointy eyebrows and the Beatles cut, and I was on Vulcan. I was on Vulcan. Like, the set was Vulcan, and they were filming it, and they were telling the world it's Vulcan. And again, this is blessed. I am not on I'm not walking through an amusement park ride. Like, and so I just said, I'm like, wow, this is kind of awesome. Like, I'm legitimately on Vulcan, and that was cool.
That's amazing.
That's really cool.
I feel like there are very few times in one's life that you can do that and have that moment.
Yeah.
I feel like
a presence.
Yeah. I feel like, visiting sets, or for the layperson who doesn't get to act on them, but
Sure.
going to the Harry Potter tour in London, or
Right.
the Doctor Who experience in Cardiff.
Which I have yet to do.
They closed it. I'm sorry.
Which I will never do.
Yeah, I've been twice.
Unless
They reopen it.
or we go back in time.
Or we go back in time. Speaking of time
What?
travel,
See how I delivered your segue?
it was beautiful.
You're welcome.
We're going to talk about a show that is currently airing.
Yes.
Season 4 is currently happening. 12 Monkeys on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Sci-Fi Channel.
Hashtag it's a fan thing. 12 Monkeys. Let's talk about Deacon.
Let's talk about Deacon.
Before we do, actually,
Okay.
On the Riches, you were Dale.
I was Dale. There we go.
12 Monkeys, you were Deacon.
Dale, Deacon,
Soon you're going to be Draken.
Draken.
It's a lot of D's.
There's more.
Are there?
Dracula
Good call.
on Supernatural.
Yep.
And Drexel on Revolution.
Yeah. I have a theory.
Please.
You keep playing D-bags.
Well played.
Thanks.
I'll take it.
All
I'll
right,
take it.
let's talk about
because they keep paying
Deacon.
me to play them.
Yeah, Deacon the D-bag. He actually started that arc. 4 seasons. We start with this like sociopathic
Yeah.
murderer.
Yeah.
He grows into the head of security for the team.
Yeah.
He joins the team and starts
Yeah.
traveling. I have personal theories about ships with Deacon, which we will get into.
Okay.
But then now I feel so bad. We got to see the story of his father and him and everything. What has it been like playing Deacon from the sociopath to where we are now, where he's on Team Witness, but he's still helping out our team?
What has it been like? Well, since season 1, it's the story that I've told about getting the role, which was interesting because the role was originally written for like an Ed Harris type, sort of just a roughneck, right? And I went to the audition and I saw a lot of just super talented guys, and they were all they sort of fit more in that pocket, and I'm like, oh wow, there's no way I'm going to out tough any of these guys. So, but I could do my thing and do it weird and do it charismatic, and I sort of thought, okay, well, here's a guy who's got to run an army of 200 people. If I'm not going to be like he could be ruthless, but he also needs to be charming, and he also needs to be funny, and if you have to do these horrible things just to survive, you might as well enjoy it, right? And so these were the choices that I made. I'm like, look, and Cole and Ramsey, they all get high and mighty about the struggle, and so I go,
That was a really good Ramsey.
that's fun. What? No, brother. So they all act all put upon by like, oh, we just have to do this. I'm like, you're gonna do it anyway. You have to do it to live. Oh, we don't have to like it. Why not? Why not? Like, if it's them or me, and this is the way I'm spending my day, it's going to be me, and I might as well have a good day. So Deacon, that's where his sociopathy came from, is I think it was a survival technique. It was like, it would crush me to have to do the things that I have to do every day if I let it emotionally scar me every time. You know, and you do that long enough, then your skin gets super thick, and it could drive you insane in one way. And so I think he was never psychotic. Like, he was never like a loose cannon. Everything he did was to protect 200 people. You know what I mean? And at one point, his brother, who he lost, and I think that might have been the snapping point, was at some point in his past when he lost his brother. So that's sort of where I approached it from season one, and I had only a certain amount of real estate to do it in season one, because I did technically 4 episodes, but really only 2, because I just sort of showed up at the end of 2 episodes for little bumpers before the commercial. But then going into season 2 and 3, the big change for him was Rayleigh. Like, he sees this woman who meant something to him and actually was a kind of a healing balm to a scared 13-year-old when the plague was hitting. This woman represented kind of benevolence, and she was going to keep me safe. And then suddenly, however many years later, I turn around and here she is standing in front of me. Like, my first crush is now, I'm now older than, and I might have a shot. So
It's not the ship that I ship.
So it's Adler, isn't it?
It's Jones.
It's Lasky. It's Jones. I think Lasky and Adler ship. They're the Bert and Ernie of our show. So going forward, the arc of this guy, I think Rayleigh showed him a different way to view the world, and she touched back to before he had to do all these horrible things. And so it reawoke something in him that reminded him, because his mother, in my world, like, was similar to her. Like there was a warmth there that he had not seen for a very long time. And so he started to care about things that she cared about, until I wanted to kill her son. But
Which was reasonable.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
Right?
Very reasonable.
Reasonable. Thank you.
But
we got so much poop for that. Like, I'm Team Cole, I'm Team Cassie. I'm like, did you realize who we think we're trying to kill? Because you would too.
There's this amazing scene where Deacon is getting back to his health. It felt very Dark Knight.
Yeah.
And we have him talking to his father, and you're playing both.
Yeah.
Until we realize that that's not his father.
Well, my father doesn't look like
yes,
me.
I
held this image in my head that I was the monster that he was.
Right.
And then, as I was going through the process, as Deacon's going through the process of healing, physically outside and then inside emotionally, getting over this idea that I have to be ruthless and violent because that's all I was taught. There's a sea change in him where he's like, no, when it's beautiful. The writing was just so beautiful, and that actor who portrayed it, when I finally see the light and realize that I'm not my dad, and he's like, I was given scars, so that's all I had to give you. But you don't have to be that going forward.
Yeah.
And it was a moment of where the character forgives himself, and in many ways he forgives his dad, because he sees, like, when you've come from so much pain, you don't know how to give anything else. And if I was treated that way, I suddenly felt for the guy. And if you can forgive somebody that you have held as a villain your entire life, that then you've taken on the shame of their violence and you blame them, I'm like this because you are. And you go, well, maybe there's more reasons, deeper reasons why you are that way, and I can forgive you for that, then I can maybe forgive myself for that going forward. Yeah.
It's such a powerful scene, and it's got to be so intense as a performer to do it, What was prepping for that and being both sides? What was that like?
Well, the physical prep was Terry Metalis calling me up, going, "Get ripped," and he sounds nothing like that though.
But that's how
he'll look at this and go, "I don't sound like that." That was actually more what he sounds like. But he's like, "Get ripped," and I said, "Well, what kind of ripped, and how long do I have?" Because I was on hiatus. So and so he goes, "De Niro, Cape Fear." I'm like, okay. So I hired a trainer. I went to a gym. I worked with this amazing guy, David Nett, and Christy Black, and they were my trainers. And then this woman, Sarah Lynn Baird at Fit Facts, which is an amazing nutritionist. So it was one of those things where they went, here's how you need to eat, and you're going to be working out 9 times a week. And I pushed the bourbon and the pizza away from me for 5 months. And I'm a Chicago boy. And so for 5 months, I became monastic in the way I was treating my body. And so that was the physical prep. The acting prep, I had to figure out who's driving the scene, which character is driving the scene, and who's provoking who in every moment. And then the actual shooting of the scene. Because what I had to realize is, what it was it's an argument in a man's head. Mm-hmm. He's not legitimately hallucinating.
Right.
He's talking to himself. He's Gollum, right? So he's talking to himself because he's been incarcerated for 9 months, enough time to give birth to a baby.
Yeah.
Not my baby, her baby.
Which was also not your baby.
Not my baby. It was just one night.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. There's a I'm going to say it wrong. GIF of that. Did I say it right?
Yeah, that's right.
Or GIF?
It's GIF.
Okay, thank you.
Graphic GIF.
No, but people say GIF all the
They're
time.
wrong.
They're wrong. But when I was shooting it, they had another actor playing me, so I had someone to act with, who was my height and my size, and then a week later, I shaved off the beard, and they gave me a prosthetic pot belly and put me in these coveralls, and then I put on the glasses, so that, because I didn't want the audience right away to go, oh, that's the same actor. You wanted them to take a second to go, oh, wow. Like, I wanted him, and we put red in my beard, just so that you go, it's not exactly what that guy looked like, but that's the way Deacon projects himself onto it. And so we had to shoot it obviously out of sequence. So I had to do all the Deacon half first because I had the huge beard. And then we had to do the dad half second because we had to shave the beard off. Because once the beard's off, I ain't coming back for a while.
Yeah. Let's talk about the ships.
Shall we?
Yes. Where do you stand on the ships?
Tell me, which ones am I talking about?
Well, who would you see Deacon with?
Who would I see Deacon with?
Because I'm torn.
Oh, in the world, like Olivia, truly, like these two are birds of a feather. A lot of people want to ship Jennifer and Deacon.
Yeah, it makes so much sense.
It does. I mean, I see why, but I'll let you speak.
No,
to why.
Okay, so they make sense, but then I realize it's way too much on her, because Deacon, he wants to be good and he tries to be good, but he slips a lot, and she does not need to be babysitting him. And so I think Deacon and Hannah, they're both ruthless killers.
She cut my eye.
Yeah,
but I also shot Jennifer.
There you go.
But okay, so on the Deacon and Jennifer thing, I think it is much. It's much more older brother that screws up and younger sister. I think it's very much a fraternal relationship.
Sure.
It's not paternal. He's not fatherly to her. These two enjoy each other like siblings. I think they because they're both survivors because he knew her as old first. And then he met her as young. So he already had opinions about her and where she's going. I find them they're best friends. Like, they really are best friends. They are outcasts on some level. They often are the canary in the coal mine. They see things coming. Well, she literally does.
Yeah.
But he smelled a rat in Olivia long before anybody else did. His antenna is really honed, and her psychic antenna is super honed. So I think they find the world rolls their eyes at both of them, and so I think they find commonality in there, and they complement each other, and they respect each other. And he doesn't think she's crazy, and he's not crazy. He's not crazy.
Right.
He just shuts down certain parts of humanity to keep surviving. So,
But
as far as Hannah goes,
they'd be perfect. They'd go out and kill everyone together for good reasons.
it just never, I think Hannah, like, interesting thing about Deacon and Hannah is she would never laugh at his jokes.
Right.
That would not be okay.
He has Jennifer for that.
Right, but so Hannah would be like, "Why are you spending all the time with Mother?" You know what I mean? Like, so it'd just be problematic.
Whatever, I ship it.
You know what? That one never occurred to me.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Never occurred to me. That's a you have an original ship.
Thank you. I tend to ship people that don't make sense.
No. Or you see something that others don't. You have the third eye.
Can't.
You have sight.
I may or may not be primary. Let's talk about Don't You Forget About Me.
Let's.
The song we opened with, the song that Deacon sings.
Yeah.
Where did that come to be?
It was, like a lot of, I have to say, working with Terry Metalis has been highly collaborative. He always looked at me as and all the actors as partners in these characters. Like, there's, obviously there were plot points that they needed to derive, but where there was room to engage us in the conversation, who had to live in the skins of these characters, he was very, very collaborative. Like the hyena burger shirt and all of that came from a wardrobe conversation that he and I had about Deacon would wear a shirt with something on it, because that's just Deacon. Like, it would make sense. Like, he'd be that guy. He has a little nostalgia. Connects him to his brother. There's like little things there. And I'm like, he should have a graphic tee. And so we talked about it, and we were like, would it be like Atari or something like Nintendo? And like, well, maybe not something we'd have to license. And let's world build here. Yeah. Like, so then we talked about, Big Kahuna Burger in the Tarantino universe. And then I said, well, what is a monkey's natural enemy? And so he's like, yeah, what is that? And then
Jennifer could tell you it's a hyena.
He starts Googling it, and he goes, hyena burger. And then so form followed function. So we created the t-shirt, and then the hyenas episode came after that. He named them the hyenas. And so it all overlaps. And then in my fanfic area, Jennifer then went back in time to the 50s and opened the first hyena burger. So she created the thing that inspired the thing that's where my brain goes.
That's one of the greatest things about this show is the craziness of
the
time
loopy
travel.
Loops, yeah. But Don't You Forget About Me came from, he's like, okay, so we got the scene where you're naked and you're cleaning a gun in the armory, and like all hell is cutting loose around you, and you're hammered and you just don't care anymore. And then I said, well, two things. What if I'm singing because I don't care? And since the first time you saw me, I was sharpening a knife, and it's just far more weird and dangerous to have a naked dude sharpening a knife. So what if I'm sharpening my knife again and singing? I'm like, and he's like, well, what would you be singing? And like, I don't know. And he goes, Don't You Forget About Me. And then it was kind of perfect in terms of what our show is and his journey specifically. It just got so deeply woven into the fabric of who this guy is. It became his theme song very much. And then it also just the idea, and there's so much of the Breakfast Club in common with our show. It's like the peel the onion on that song, and it just fit. There's so much nostalgia in our show, so much 80s nostalgia in our show. and then on top of it, a song about a person who doesn't want to be forgotten in a time travel show where things get lost in the sands of time. Like, it's great. It was perfect.
Specifically for the character who constantly is asking, how do I fit into this? Why am I not noted here?
Yeah.
Am I interchangeable?
Yeah. Am I important?
Yeah.
Yeah. Am I important? And so it was a collaboration that led to divine inspiration from Terry to use that song, and it couldn't have landed harder. And now, like, when I step out into Comic-Con stages, people sing it back to us. Like, it's
so beautiful.
Great. It's great. And I grew up, and he is the bender of the group.
Oh, absolutely.
No, Dad. What about? And it even informed the cigarette burns that
Yeah.
the father had, which is probably why he chose that song to be his theme song. Like, it's great.
It's all perfect. And speaking of perfect, you have a role that you are playing on a Disney Channel original movie. For those who can't see it, those listening to the audio podcast, it's Dr. Draken from Kim Possible.
Draken!
How did that happen?
That was a good old-fashioned audition.
Really?
Yeah, they've been, casting this role, and I literally, because I was in the middle, I'm writing the movie, and I'm like, I have, like, the nice part about writing is that you can kind of fit it in when you go out of town to do a job because they balance themselves out. And so I went in and auditioned, and then, like, a week later, they said, hey, would you come back, and we're going to do a mix and match with some of the guys that we think we like and some of the girls we think we like. And then another week went by, and they said, you're the guy. Can you come in now and chemistry read some of the She-Goes? And I did. It was just that. And one of my favorite moments in this whole process was because they're mighty big shoes to fill with this character, and it is a beloved animated series created by the writers created the show, but the person who breathed life into it was John DiMaggio, and he's a dear friend of mine. And after I booked it, my phone rings, and it says John DiMaggio. I'm like, oh, Todd, hey, brother. And so he gave me his blessing, and he wished me well, and he was so excited for me. And he's like, go out there and kill it, man. And I'm like, thank you, like, because that's like he made the role famous, and so. It's such an honor to be able to carry the tradition forward into a live action thing. And I've been going, back and forth to Vancouver with this amazing cast. This woman, Taylor Ortega, who plays She-Go. I could not ask for a better She-Go. She's a funny girl. She's improviser from New York, so we speak the same language, and we're just children. I mean, there are actual children on this set who are 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds, and we behave much more like children than they do.
I believe it.
Yeah.
How
But
much?
I'm representing.
I love it. I love that you're wearing the
Gotta
shirt.
represent.
How much longer do you have in filming?
It'll go for just a little bit longer. I mean, I'm not gonna dates or nothing, but it'll finish out my summer very much. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that is why you will not be at San Diego.
I cannot. It is impossible for me to go to San Diego.
You
I
said
have to.
You said it earlier.
I have
and
to.
It's hilarious.
It works every time. Right,
so-
Ashton? It does.
You're a very, very busy man.
Busy guy.
You got 12 monkeys. We've
I got
still
12
got
monkeys, but I'm not doing that other than like live tweeting
tweeting.
and sitting here and chatting and doing interviews about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sadly because that was 3 years of my life and 3 of the best years. So
When did you guys wrap shooting?
Last August.
Oh, wow.
So it's coming up on a year. Yeah, we finished wrap. Well, there was 2 wraps because like we wrapped in Toronto, and so I had to say goodbye to that whole crew that I had worked with for 3 years, and then we did Comic-Con, and then a week after Comic-Con we went to Prague for a month, and we shot out the rest of season 4 in Prague, and so I had to say goodbye to this character in Prague, and the crew and cast and everything. Yeah.
I mean, there are worse places to say goodbye.
Worst places to say goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of awesome because I wrapped. It was like a Fraturday, which means you work you start on Friday and you work all through the night and you watch the sun come up because you're using the night as your thing. So it's like, as opposed to saying we're losing light, we're like, we're gaining light. We have to wrap. So as I'm driving, I'm driving back to the airport. I literally went from the set to the airport to fly back to my wife and children, and I'm in the car, and there's this lovely, he's this chick driver, and he's this great guy, but does not say nothing. He does not say nothing to me. But he's great roughneck looking guy, and I'm driving through these little hamlets that look like they're straight out of like Cinderella, like just countryside hamlets, but he listened to American music, right? And so he's listening to American music, and Destiny's Child Survivor comes on. So it's like the sun is rising on this pastoral thing. It's like, dun, 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 dun. I'm like, this is how I'm saying goodbye to prom. Just bootylicious. It was so good.
That's awesome.
It was so good.
And so we still have 3 or 4 more episodes?
We have 3 tomorrow night.
Yes.
And then the season finale is a 2-hour episode. So you could say it's 2 episodes or 1 2-hour episode.
Okay.
Or 4 half-hour episodes.
Right.
Or I could just keep going.
I like the idea of the half-hour
Inchworm.
episodes. And you also have a comic book.
I collaborated on a comic called Devil Inside, and it's free. We have been, me and this amazing artist, Dennis Calero, who've been working with me on it since 2009.
Wow.
We put out, for a while, we were putting out 1 strip a week, free online, and then every year we would collect those up into a book. Then we print it, and then we would take it to Comic-Con and sell it. We've done 3 printed books, not available at your local comic book store because we don't have a publisher. But I used to sell them online, and I sell them at cons when I can. But you can read it for free online at devilinsidecomic.com, and it's about the devil having a crisis of conscience and going on the lam in a small Nevada town. And the forces of hell are trying to drag him back. If he doesn't use his abilities, they can't find him. So he would show up on their radar. So he's trying desperately not to be the thing that he is. So he's a man going through a midlife crisis, basically.
Yeah, but it's very similar to lots of your villain characters.
Very similar. Well, that was the point. And Dennis's art is so likeness based that we basically wrote a TV series in comic book form, and we got friends of mine to donate their faces. Dana Gould is in it, Eddie Izzard is in it, Minnie Driver's in it, David Blue is in it, Azure Parsons plays my partner in crime. She was on Salem, fantastic actress, and so we've been creating this on our own as a labor of love for 9 years, and just putting it out there when we can. Obviously, you get busy and it takes a little time, but we want to finish at least this arc of story and make 4 complete books. But read it for free at devilinsidecomic.com. You have to kind of click back and navigate through, but it's there for the eyeballs.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks
here.
for having me.
Thank you for letting me tell you about my ships.
Yay!
Where can people find you on the social medias?
On the social medias, I am Todd Stashwick on, they're playing me out.
They're playing the song.
I know. Todd Stashwick on Instagram, or on Twitter, T Stashwick on Instagram, Todd Stashwick on Caffeine.
I saw.
Stashwick on Caffeine. And then Facebook, I'm there.
Great.
Todd Stashwick. You'll find me.
Awesome.
I'm not real creative with the names.
That's okay. I am also not creative. I'm everywhere at Yael Tygiel. That's YAELTYGIEL. Thank you all so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.